Hi, everyone. Before we get into the episode, we're starting things a little bit differently. First of all, we want to thank you so much. We saw the insight for the number of listens this last week, and the numbers were very humbling. So thank you so much for listening. Special shout out to Patrick Kampmeyer, who is, you can see, is the number one fan. You can always email us at talkingtwinpeaks@gmail.com. We will take a look at your comments, questions, concerns, insights that you want to give us as well. We very, very happy to hear from you. Joe, do you have anything else to say to the amazing fans that we have?
Yeah, please send all your YouTube covers of just you and I to Paul. He loves that song so much. Yeah, thank you guys. It's awesome knowing you guys are all out there listening. It's really fun for us to do, and we're glad that you're up. You guys are listening to us ramble about a show we love. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If someone does, if I start getting an influx of you and I covers, I will put them on our YouTube channel. We will put them on the Showdown, and we will actually play them on our podcast. That is something I will totally do. So, all right. Well, yes, from both Joe and I, thank you again, and we hope you enjoy this episode, part 12.
Hi, and welcome back to a podcast above a convenience store, Talking Twin Peaks. I'm Joe Fremming from the Showdown. With me, as always, is Paul Muad'Dib from Cast That Movie. How you doing, Paul?
Well, there's some fear in letting go.
Oh, this is last week, Paul was telling us about how this part 15 of The Return, which we're reviewing today, was going to be like one of the slow burners, or not much happens, and then it's going to speed up once part 16 happens. Paul, what happened with your theories?
I was off. Like, there was things that happened in this episode. Again, it's been a while that, for whatever reason, I thought happened in 16 and not this episode. So you really got to excuse me. It's been 3.5 years since I've seen this. So I was going off my jumbled memory. So I wholeheartedly apologize. Yeah, we're in for a long episode, I think.
Yeah, I think the part 14 was the last slow one.
Mm-hmm. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because as soon as I'm not to get too far ahead, but it's like first it's Ed and Nadine, and then it's like, holy shit, there's Cooper with the Sunset Boulevard, and like, holy shit, the fucking convenience store. Like,
yeah, yes, and these were all things, for whatever reason, I thought happened in 16 and not this one, and that's just my distorted memory.
Hey, I was backing you up on it. I thought that was right too. But so let's get into it. The episode's called "There's Some Fear in Letting Go." The line's taken. We'll talk about it because it's also the beautifully written elegy for Margert Lanterman, Catherine Coulson, our favorite log lady.
Yes, and I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to throw you, I think, for a loop on my thoughts and feelings later in this episode. So just putting that out there. Let's start at the beginning, though, shall we?
We just got a hot take. Paul hates the log lady.
She never dated Snake.
Wow, you hate the log. Dear Lord, and you announce in the episode she dies?
What kind of shithead am I? Speaking of shitheads, Nadine's walking down the street, Joe.
Yeah, with her golden shovel, which she uses to shovel herself out of said shit.
Again, the actress,
Margot.
Yes. Fuck, she's so good as this character. Like some of the, like I said, some of the other characters kind of slipped out here and there, or didn't carry some of the spunk that they had into this season. But my God, does she fucking give it her all, doesn't she?
Oh, it's great. So yeah, she's doing great, and it's great to see her with Big Ed.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen these two on screen since People Under the Stairs, I think.
Right.
I'll keep bringing that up because they're in it.
They are the couple together, which is awesome.
Yeah. Nadine's she walks miles to Big Ed's gas farm with her golden shovel and a new outlook on life.
And again, just the way that she delivers her lines, the way that she's acting, like I don't see the actress. Like she's so good. I just see this character, Nadine, who has had this epiphany, and she says, "I've been a selfish bitch."
To you all these years.
Oh my God. And again, Everett McGill, who plays Big Ed, he's also one of those guys that just can just slip into that character, and immediately, even though I hate his haircut, he's still Big Ed. Like, well, Norma, you're good. I mean, well, Nadine, you're gonna regret saying, like, just the way he does and everything. Like, this is just classic Twin Peaks right here, and I love that they open up with it. And but she gives him the go, and then we get Otis Redding singing as he drives up to the Double R.
Yep, I've been loving you. The live version. Oh God, yeah. This is like my favorite of all the because we don't get a whole lot of fan service in the return. This scene, Ed and Nadine, and then Ed and Norma, is my favorite fan service. I feel like they did such a good job because these two, Ed and Norma, as we read in Secret History, is just like it never was the right time for them.
Yep.
And so Ed comes in, Otis Redding singing. He goes up to Norma. He's like, "Yep, I'm going to be single. We can finally be together." And she shuts him down because Walter is there.
Oh God.
Just soul crushing. Like, oh no.
Yeah, no. That guy. No, it's so funny. The actor. I'm going to bring this up. The actor is Grant Goodeve, and by God, is he not a fucking tulpa of Cole of Is it Gary Cole? Gary Cole?
Yeah, he looks just like
he looks just like Gary Cole.
Like Bill Lumberg.
Yes, he looks just like Bill Lumberg. And it was so funny because I'm like, oh, when I saw him the first time, I'm like, Bill Lumberg. And then we didn't bring it up in that episode that it's not Bill Lumberg. But this is the perfect time to do it. My God, he's a tulpa for Bill Lumberg.
He looks just like him.
He does. I still don't believe it's him. I think it's Gary Cole playing as Grant Goodhue as Walter.
Oh, but yeah, Walter's in for some bad news. Norma decides she wants to sell her shares of the franchise, just keep the Double R.
Mm-hmm. And now this is also a tribute to the writing, because Walter's a good guy. Like, he's not a bad dude. Like, he's like, I think you're making a mistake. I don't think you want to do this. Like, he is legitimately looking out for Norma. But but Norma, I think she made that decision right then and there when Ed came up to her. I don't think that was something she was going to do until Ed came there, and like, this was nothing else mattered to her but Ed. And I think that was a really brilliant way of writing it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, I mean, Walter, he's not Hank Jennings, who's like who was a skeevy shithead.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's generally seems like a nice guy, yeah. And then she just decides, you know what? It's time. It's time to, just go back to what she wants to do to keep herself happy.
And real quick, I want to mention that, it seemed like in the beginning of the season, we kind of, for the little amount we got into Norma and everything, like she was making a killing on this new double R thing. And then we find out it's 7 diners. It was soon to be 7. Wait a minute. I had a feeling here that like this was like a new big franchise that they were going on. You mean there's 6 diners? There's only 6 diners. That's not really a franchise, is it?
It's a franchise in the making. Again, the restaurant business is notoriously easy to make it in.
Is that like the St. Cloud, the McMullins? How many McMullins were there?
Notoriously easy to become wildly successful in the restaurant business.
You hear that all the time. I mean, whenever Gordon Ramsay shows up, he's like, "Why you guys fuck it up? This is easy."
So Walter leaves, and Big Ed's sitting there with his coffee, and we get this beautiful moment where Norma comes up to him, and
good.
He's like, "Marry me," like.
And she's so fucking good. And she's like, yes. And I have to agree with you. We are not given a lot of fan service, so maybe this is why it's our favorite. But I also feel like this was something, I think a lot of people were pissed off that we didn't get more of Audrey, which we'll get into later once again. But this right here, I think, was by far the best because to me, of all the Twin Peaks stories, Norma and Ed's was like the most tragic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for the people who got mad with Audrey, well, guess what? They don't write this for us. They write it because they have an interesting story to tell. Lynch and Frost. So, And
not to say Twin Peaks wasn't tragic, but I mean, when you read The Secret History, when you watch, and which really went into it more than the show did, this was like the 2 star-crossed lovers. I mean, nothing. They were high school sweethearts. Both of them couldn't get out. They both were with the wrong people at the wrong time. Very, very, when you look at it, outside the suicide thing, it was very Romeo and Juliet-esque, where it was bad decision begot bad decision, which begot bad decision.
Yeah, and Hank played a role, especially when Ned was in Vietnam, stealing the letters and all that. So, this felt so good.
Yes,
and it's my favorite. And even though we do get like the ultimate payoff in a few episodes, this one I still enjoy more.
Yes, I would completely agree. And, we should have saw it coming in hindsight because they went in so much of it. Like you said, the letters of Vietnam in Secret History. We should have known that, there was going to be a payoff, but it was so subtle in that thing. It was, and then to see this, I did not see this coming.
Yeah. Well, they didn't even give us Ed until, the last, after 10 episodes. So.
Right. So this was just, I completely 1000% agree. This is my favorite fan service. I'm so glad they gave it. They gave it to us, and in a way, I'm so glad they gave it to the characters.
Absolutely, and we have this beautiful moment, which is then followed up by static, darkness, phone poles, driving at night. Mr. C is heading to the convenience store.
Oh boy.
Which is this, I love this too, because this is this kind of ties in elements of Fire Walk with Me a lot, especially the painting Laura gets from Miss Chalfant.
I think that was intentional. I think that was an intentional art design. Yes, I put 2 and 2 together with that as well.
Yep, yeah, that was absolutely intentional. That this is because the painting was a portal to whatever.
To the Dutchman. Now, I love the cool, we're getting a little ahead of the scene, but I love how the Flying Dutchman, why it has its name. Like, it actually makes sense why it has its name.
Go on.
We'll talk about that when it happens. Because we will get to that part. But yeah, so he goes in, and the electricity's crackling, and you got the woodsman, and
he's like, who greets him.
Yeah, and
like a valet.
Exactly. Yeah, like oh, right this way, Mr. C.
What accent was that?
I don't fucking know.
Woodsman accent.
and then he gets put there. He takes him to the meeting where he meets another woodman. And he's like, I need to see Phillip Jefferies. And then, he flips the switch, which is absolutely, this is a portal to all these other places, right? Like, this is how I now, my question is, this is where I knew we were going to get a little deep in this one. The woodsmen, for whatever reason, are helping Mr. C. So they're operatives of Judy, obviously. Because they
I don't think they are operatives of Judy.
Okay, go on. Let's hear your take.
I think they're operatives of Bob.
You think they're operatives of Bob?
They were born of Bob.
I
don't think they care about Mr. C. As we saw in part 8, they were more concerned about protecting the orb of Bob within Mr. C.
Interesting take. And you bring up a really good point there. Yeah, because, I mean, that's... So, because this is essentially, he gets to the convenience store, right? Like, this is the convenience store that was above, or at least one of the convenience stores. And so my question to that is how is this operating within and actually without the Black Lodge? Like, is that what this kind of is? Is that what this particular setup is? Well, okay, we'll get to the Flying Dutchman reference now because I think we need to. But at the end of this whole scene, the convenience store disappears, just like the story of the Flying Dutchman, which is the ghost ship that disappears and comes up in different places. So is this like a thing that Bob maybe set up for himself that's operating outside of everything that still gives him the ability to kind of jump between worlds?
I think so. And okay. I think so. That's because, and I think you're absolutely right on that, because the convenience store also operated as the meeting place too of these worlds and entities. We saw that in Firewalk with Me.
Yes, and no, you're refreshing my memory here. And he said we would meet above a convenience store, him and the arm. So they weren't really doing what they should have been doing anyways till the one saw the face of God.
Yes.
Okay.
And then while Mr. C's in there, we see that background painting we brought up that was like the same pattern from Laura's dream and Firewalk with Me, when Annie's in the room and she sees Cooper telling her don't take the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is kind of like, it operates as kind of like the Dutchman, like a ship that is able to, bridge between these worlds.
Got it. Well, then we get a cameo from one of our favorites, the Jumping Man.
Yeah, which he looks very concerned too when Mr. C shows up and the lever is pulled.
Mm-hmm.
The Jumping Man, we get it very briefly. I love that they brought back the Jumping Man.
Right.
Such a weird character. We get absolutely no explanation what the Jumping Man is, but I love it. It's such an aesthetically cool looking character.
Yes.
But he looks a little concerned that Mr. C is going to the Dutchman's.
Yes, he does seem very concerned. And side note here, this is the same Jumping Man from Firewalk with Me, by the way.
Yep.
It's the same actor, which I thought was really cool. Then we finally meet Phillip Jefferies. Now, again, we talked about this. David Bowie is dead. And this felt very much to me a little bit more respectful than the bubblegum tree aspect of it. But I feel like that this was done out of necessity versus what they wanted to do. Like, this feels like one of those things where Lynch was like, well, if I can't have Bowie, make him a fucking teapot. We'll figure out in post.
Yeah, and it works, though, because we don't know what happened. We saw he was severely burned when they sent him back to Buenos Aires.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jefferies has had a rough 25 years, it looks like. So Mr. C walks, and it's like the Dutchman's is like it's like a creepy looks like roadside motel. He walks there, and a woman in a dirty robe unlocks the door for him. She says, "I'll unlock the door for you," and she's doing like weird lodge backward speak.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and at first she looks like she's Chalfon at first. Like the outline, the way she's walking, I'm like, oh, nope, not Chalfon.
Nope.
Nope.
And Jeffrey,
I'm sorry, Tremont.
Yeah. Well, the actress who played Miss Tremont
it's long passed away.
So he's at room 8. I took note of the room number. She lets him in. It's a dark room. It's very like David Fincher like from Seven, with like the being dark and like the weird creepy rape light going off.
Mm-hmm.
And Jefferies is a giant teapot blowing steam. And
yes.
He looks like one of the chambers from the White Lodge.
He sure does look like one of the chambers from the White Lodge. So it's interesting to me as to how Mr. C got there without anyone knowing. But again, it must be this way that he's able to get in through with the woodsman. And Mr. C's pissed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jefferies is trying to have him killed. I love it. He's there. And first thing Jefferies is like, "Oh, it's you."
Yeah. Oh, it's you. But and he says, "Hey, you got sent to, you sent Ray to kill me." And he's like, "I called Ray, and I don't have your number." And then they talk about meeting at the FBI headquarters and ask about Judy, and which is the interesting thing. He says, "So you are Cooper."
Yeah, which makes me think he thinks that this might be the real Cooper.
That's what I thought as well. Yep.
But I think he lures them into a trap after that.
Yes, I think he does.
Because then Mr. C goes, "Who is Judy? Does Judy want something from me?" And Jefferies is like, "Why don't you ask Judy yourself?"
Mm-hmm.
You've met her.
Yeah, he's like, "I've met Judy," and I think that was the key right there. That's what Jefferies needed. So he gives him these coordinates. Now the numbers were like 45881.
Yeah, and we'll see where those coordinates lead in the next episode.
I know there's a lot of numerology, so I'm going to bring this up now for maybe people that are looking at that. I looked into the numerology aspect of this. There is no meaning to those numbers, by the way. There's just it's a start of a coordinate. It's nothing outrageous. It's nothing underlining. It doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
So
I think Jefferies is troubled by this because he's just he gives him the numbers, and Mr. C's like, "Who is Judy?" He's yelling.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like, "You've already met Judy." And this phone rings. Jefferies' aunt just vanishes. And as soon as Mr. C picks it up, he's kicked the fuck out.
Yes, and with a really interesting kind of, visual effect there of the kind of the in and out, like the electricity thing of that nature. He is gone. Like, he doesn't want to have anything that to do with any of it, right? Like, Jefferies wants him out.
So we kind of get an there's rules and things about these other worlds within the world of Twin Peaks, and I think Jefferies and whatever this place was is a powerful one in that they could just expel C like that with just like fuck you, you're out.
Yeah, yeah. And then he's greeted by Richard Horne.
Oh, yeah, pointing a gun at him. And we find out that he recognizes him because Audrey had a framed photo of Agent Cooper when he was growing up. So he's like, you're an FBI. I know you're an FBI agent and all that. Cooper, Mr. C, then like spits and then just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, he spits, which causes Richard to look. I noticed that Richard looks, he just beats the shit out of him. I mean, it sounds like he broke ribs, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm starting to suspect Mr. C's not a patient guy. The bullshit.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I'm probably in the same boat.
It's starting to dawn on me that he might have like a bad streak in him.
just a bit. I think again, we're learning this late in the season that he's this way. But he tells me, he's like, how do you know who I am? He says, hey, I'm Cooper. I know you're from the FBI. You have my mom's. My mom had a picture of you. Who's your mom? Audrey Horne. And, he's like, get in the car.
Yeah. And don't ever threaten me again.
Don't ever threaten me again. But before he goes, he sends a text message saying Las Vegas, ?
Which we saw a few episodes back.
Yes. And then again, the convenience store disappears, which is why, again, it's called The Dutchman. Because it's based upon that story of the Flying Dutchman, which is, again, that ghost ship that disappears and reappears at will, which seems now to be the will of Mr. C and where he needs it to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or he just knew where it was going to be.
Yes.
I guess we just don't know. That's all right. Because, it just vanishes. And we head back to Twin Peaks where we see Cyril Pons, famed reporter in the Twin Peaks area, walking his dog. Nice God. Cameo by Mark Frost here.
Yes. Beautiful cameo by Mark Frost. And let's, yes. So we'll talk about, just real quick, Cyril Pons. We know who this character is from The Secret History.
He was in an episode of the original run. He was a TV reporter.
He was the TV reporter. That's right.
Yep.
That's
very
right.
Brief. Very brief. But yeah, so this is Mark Frost reprising the role. And Secret History gave him a little more to do. He had those bylines in the Twin Peaks Gazette.
Yep. Writing about Andrew Packard's death and a few things in there, and the sawmill. Oh no, the sawmill was what he reported on. That's right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, excellent. And then we see Steve and Kirsten. Boy, that's a level of strung out.
Yeah, I haven't seen that level of strung out since, we were in high school and all our friends turned to meth.
Oh boy, yeah. This is now we're getting into somewhere because I want to talk a little bit about this. We've talked about our hometown and stories and things of that nature. This version of Twin Peaks reminds me of our hometown circa 94, 95, 96.
Reminds me 99, 2000 when everybody was starting getting strung out on coke and fucking meth.
See, it was happening to me before 99, 2000. Like, I was hanging out at a particular coffee shop, the Java Joint, and I was with the punk and the goth crowd, and it hit that group earlier than it hit other people. I watched a lot of people change on that drug. Yeah, dude, this is so much like what we saw. Like what's happening in the Twin Peaks now is what we dealt with, 20, well, you're saying 20 years
20
ago.
to 25 years ago.
Yeah, about 20, 25 years ago. Exactly. And it's, yeah, this scene right here is I've knew people who you would see them huddle up downtown and acting this way. This is totally. I've seen this. Like this is not an absurdity by any stretch of the imagination.
No. Yeah. So we have these two. They're just jacked out of their minds. Steven has a gun, which is. I mean, this is just a perfect storm of stupidity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He's loading it up, and he's talking about how he likes to fuck her.
Yeah, that was not the most romantic. Like this is
poetry, man. What are you talking about?
This is like a meth head confessing his love. Like, I love to fuck you. You know that.
I thought you wrote that like in you like on cards to your wife.
I love to fuck you. I thought you would know that. My favorite time with you is the time we fuck. Happy anniversary, me. Oh fuck! I think this is the most we laughed at an episode.
So we get that, and poor Cyril, walking his dog, comes across these two chuckleheads. See, Steven has a gun and runs off. Gersten runs off and hides because she's high as fucking paranoid. And then Steve does the world a favor and just kills himself.
Well, so this is the interesting thing, right? Because we're going to learn, and you know what? Okay, leave it at that, because that's what I believe as well. I believe he fucking flips out and kills himself. Yep.
Then Cyril goes back to Fat Trout, where he's living.
Mm-hmm.
He tells poor Carl what happened, and he points to Steven's trailer.
And man, Carl Rod is just fucking, he's done, isn't he?
Oh, Jesus. It's all this drama.
Yeah, it's this poor Carl. And then with the side, new Fat Trout trailer park, by the way. So again, continuity issues there. Then we get a odd transition. We're at the Roadhouse.
Yeah,
with a easel on stage, and we're gonna listen to one of the Roadhouse favorites, Sharp Dressed Man.
Yeah. This was it was so weird, and we see that girl who cried at James' stupid song.
Renee.
Yeah, whatever.
Renee and her husband Chuck. The only reason why I know this is because of the credits.
Yeah, Chuck. Yeah, then James comes in with Freddie. We're listening to ZZ Top, and he goes to Renee's booth where their husband's at.
Oh, God.
Start saying hi to her.
Which is just the dumbest. Okay. Again, I'm glad we explained earlier that James had a motorcycle accident and wasn't the same. Because, you know what, though? I believe James would do this anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the motorcycle accident did anything to alter his intelligence even worse. He's just like, that's just like such a low bar.
Yeah. Okay. Listeners, old, young, mostly old, I'm sure. Like us. You don't do this. You don't do this.
I'm going to hit on this married woman in front of her husband.
Jesus Christ on a crutch, James. Fuck, you're an idiot.
Yeah. Then Chuck gets mad and just lays him out.
And then Freddie comes to the rescue, man.
Yeah, and he punches Chuck and Chuck's buddy. And we kind of see like how much damage this green glove can do. It makes the music skip with its reverberations.
Yep.
So the Sharp Dressed Man, right in the middle of a rockin' solo, gets
all messed up, which is ruining the people in the mosh pit section at the Roadhouse. That's ruining their night.
Well, but we see like Chuck is like his eyes are rolling in the back of his head, and he's got foam coming out of his mouth.
I think my favorite line is, "Ooh, you're gonna need to get 911. You're gonna have to get 911 for these guys. They're really hurt. His eyes don't look right. I'm sorry, Renee." This is like the way it was done reminded me almost of Owen Wilson in Royal Tenenbaums at the end when he kills the dog, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Did I kill the dog? I need help." Like, like just the way that the delivery is done and kind of the dialogue of this was very that particular scene in Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah. No, it's a weird scene, but I the reason is they put it is we had to see the glove in action.
Yes,
So they had to shadow that somehow.
And we had to get, we'll find out later, James and Freddie to the police station.
Yep. So we had even as bizarre as the scene is, it serves a purpose, a very weird
very weird Lynchian purpose.
Yeah.
Next, we are at
Vegas FBI headquarters.
Doug and Jones are here, along with their kids. Kids. It's
the wrong Douglas Jones.
The wrong Douglas Jones. And Headley knows this as he walks up. I'm sure he did. He's just like, "I found you a Douglas Jones." So that's a very short-lived scene. Then we cut to Todd trying to get to find out where Anthony is. If he's heard from Anthony, or Todd's telling Roger or asking Roger if he's heard from Anthony, and to get Anthony when a surprise shows up.
Yeah, Chantel fucking just cuts them down. Yeah.
So good.
Again, I'm surprised Mr. C just has this. It seems like it's a short fuse,
Just a bit.
Just bringing this on us on part 15.
Right? Like a bunch of shit's not going well for Mr. C right now, and everyone's gonna pay. Although, and then I love how she shoots him, and then she talks about French fries, and then Roger's still wheezing, and she's like, "Ah."
Oh.
Then, real quickly, we talked about it already. The James and Freddie are locked up. Not the first time James has been in that prison cell.
No.
Might be Freddie's. And we got Chad in there. We got the drunk, who I'm still convinced is Billy, and we got Nadia.
It's not Billy.
It's not Billy.
In fact, we're not going to talk about Billy at all.
We're not going. Well, we are going to talk about Billy actually, but first.
We find out the guys that Freddie punched are in intensive care.
So, we get to what I think is an awesome conversation between Chantel and Hutch. Like, these are paid killers of Mr. C. Obviously, they're doing well enough where they could drive around, they can get good clothes, they can do these things, but they're just, they're just salt of the earth fucking killers, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, just eating their garbage fast food.
And he got her dessert because he loves her.
This scene actually it felt very Tarantino-esque to me.
Very. And I'm glad you brought that up because I thought it was I thought that was a subconscious thing in my mind because both of these people were in Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe that's part of it.
It could be. It just felt just like two killers talking random shit while eating. It just seems like such a Tarantino thing, but I could be wrong.
Well, no, I think you're right. But the thing that they're talking about, though, not even shooting the shit, I think was also a very what's the word I'm looking for? Social commentary from Lynch and Frost on this thing, because like, hey, what's the difference between us and the government killing people? Like, government kills people every day. They don't go to jail. Why do we? And it's like, I could see where professional, like lowbrow professional killers could have that up. Like, I just thought that was a really interesting conversation they had. Cause I'm like, this feels real because this is probably a real conversation that Bonnie and Clyde couples and fucking Butch Cassidy and Sundance mass murderers have had between themselves.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I really like that scene for whatever reason, and you're right. Thank you for saying it, because I just thought maybe it was subconscious, but it could just be the fact that they were just sitting there talking like they would in a Tarantino film. But again, whenever I see Tim Roth, though, I immediately think
Hateful Eight or Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs.
Exactly. I think Tarantino whenever I see him.
Yeah.
So then
let's go to Dougie's house.
Yeah, let's go to Dougie's house, shall we? Because Janie E is in seventh heaven right now.
Yeah, she's serving him cake. How is he not gaining weight? Like, he's eating so much sugar and carbs.
That's all he has is sugar and carbs. Everything's going well. Things are doing things. And then we start to see some semblance of personality in Dougie, some independent movement, where he's moving stuff in the object. The blank slate is starting to become a little less blank, is what I was catching on this one. And he's playing with a TV remote, which turned on Sunset Boulevard, which is the movie where David Lynch got the name for Cole. The name for Gordon Cole. And he hears Gordon Cole's name, and this snaps something in Dougie, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we should also mention Sunset Boulevard is also it's one of Lynch's favorite movies. It's one of the reasons why he, titled Mulholland Drive as a nod to Sunset Boulevard. Mm-hmm. But he recognizes the name Gordon Cole, and he's got a sense of urgency in him now.
Yes, he's got a sense of urgency, but with that sense of urgency comes a sense of not the smartest thing to do.
It has to be done.
But it does have to be done, doesn't it?
Yes.
And he looks over at the electrical outlet, hearing the electrical noise, and starts fucking with it with his fork.
Yeah. Just shocking him. Yeah. I remember first seeing this, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Holy shit. I thought the same thing too. Janie E thought holy shit. Sonny Jim thought holy shit.
Yeah, Sonny Jim too.
Yes, but we will learn that this was pivotal, that this needed to happen.
It had to happen. Just took, Cake and Sunset Boulevard to shake some of the foundations loose there for our poor hero here.
Yes, and then causes the blackout. Joe, I'm going to give you the floor, as it were, for this next scene.
This is a tough one. So it's our last scene with Margert Lanterman, Catherine Coulson, a.k.a. the Log Lady. She calls Hawk, letting him know that she's dying. She is, the title of the episode, it comes from this. There's some fear in letting go. This tough one. It's such a beloved character, so this was going to be tough anyway. But it's also tough knowing that Catherine Coulson was also dying as they were filming this. She had cancer and was very, very ill. I couldn't imagine filming this. And for her to act this scene out is pretty fucking brave.
Okay. This is what I wanted to bring up. I am pissed at David Lynch, actually, when I watched this scene. And the reason why I am is she is dying in real life. She died 2 days after filming this.
Very shortly after they filmed her scene.
Yeah, I really think something like 1 or 2 days after they filmed her scene. And when she says, I am dying, that is not acting. That is her visibly upset. Yes, it was very brave, but I think it was very callous of David Lynch to ask her and Mark Frost to say these words. The I am dying, these types of things. Because it was happening in real life at the same time. So for me, like, this is like a double whammy to me when I watch this scene of depression, because I cannot imagine. I don't think I could ever, even for even for a swan song, ask someone in that position to say the dialogue that they had to say in this particular scene.
I understand, man. I completely agree. But you know, she did agree to do it. I mean, I don't think they forced it on her. She, you know, I think I agree that it feels like kind of a dick thing, but it also feels like cathartic a bit.
Yes.
Imagine for her, it might be to be able to say that while it's actually happening to you, and be able to give a goodbye to like, you know, your director over all these years and like your fans, and be able to like kind of like just, you know, I don't, you know, it just seems like it might have been cathartic for her to say those things. Like, I can't speak for her. I don't.
And you know what?
And I was mad when I first saw that when it aired, because I felt like, man, like, to ask somebody to do, like you said, like ask somebody to do that while it's actually happening to them. That's just, I have a lot of conflicting emotions about it. But
so I want to jump in there for a second, because you bring up something that I didn't think of, right? I didn't think that about like the conversations that, you know, maybe Lynch talked to her about it and offered to you know, change dialogue, things of that nature. We don't know. We don't know, right? So that's a very valid point. I shouldn't just jump to the conclusion that you know, that's what it was. So you're right, but I will say that this was in a lot of, you know, I've seen a lot of depressing things on TV, on movies, things of that nature. I would put this up there as like the most depressing thing, because this is someone who was on her deathbed, and it's very obvious she was on her deathbed, and that she was having a very difficult time filming even the scenes that she had.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough. I have conflicting emotions about it. You know, I know she wanted to do the return. She was very excited about it. I think her diagnosis was pretty fast. That led from like when they announced the show to like filming it. I think it was a pretty fast. I don't know, but it just seems, yeah, it's tough. It's very tough to watch, and it's also like some of the dialogue is also beautiful. How sad it is.
Yes, it is beautiful dialogue. I'm not taking away from the poetry that is being written there. Please don't think I am.
Yeah. Again, it's a lot of different emotions. Like, you know, like I tear up, like, you know, when she's saying it, and that her log is turning golden, and like, you know, just kind of like this. I still feel a little angry about it, like you do. And just kind of knowing that, I was just like, that's a lot to ask of somebody in that position.
Yeah, it is. It is. And okay, so there's my piece. That's the part I wanted to get out that I referenced earlier.
Yeah, it's rough. It's sad. This is so sad. But I mean, I'm also a little bit happy that we got this.
Yes,
hear her kind of saying these things as the log lady. It's just so. It's jarring, just because of, you know, this is like, it's not just a character. This is the real person behind the characters going through the exact what this was. So,
yes, and then okay, brushing aside feelings, things of that nature. Then she says something to tell him to remember everything she told him and to watch for the one she warned him about. On Blue Pine Mountain.
Yep.
Who do you think that is?
Well, that's obviously Snake.
He was gonna give him bad insurance forms.
No, I think it's Blue
Mr.
Pine Mountain. Trying to jog my memory. The one to keep an eye out, I think, would be NATO or Andy, because that's where they were when they went into the NATO.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming it's probably.
See, I thought it was a warning about the second Cooper. That's what I thought.
Could be too, because that's also where this Mr. C killed Briggs.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple of things that could be. That it could be, I think it's that, you think it's NATO or Andy, which also makes total sense. And then he says goodbye, and you could tell that the actor was Michael Horse.
Yep.
I think had a hard time with that scene as well, even though it's very obvious they're not talking to each other at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think that was a tough scene for him as well. And then he brings everyone into a room.
Yeah.
And
he informs the Truman and Andy and Lucy and Bobby. Before this, though, when after he hangs up, we get like this kind of like nice moment of silence. The screen kind of just turns black.
Yeah.
Few beats, it's just black, which I think was kind of like, curtain call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see the light in the cabin going out. I thought it was it was a very touching tribute. And again, I can't imagine also how hard that was on the cast and crew to be in that room with
I'm sure.
Catherine Coulson. I cannot imagine how difficult that was for everybody there as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're tearing up just fucking watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to watch. I couldn't imagine being in there. And again, I shouldn't jump to just anger right away with Lynch and Frost on that one. It's just it's rough. It's rough. It's rough, is what it is.
Yeah, it's not an easy scene to watch. Any of her scenes, all of her scenes in The Return are pretty rough. Just because we knew what was going on because she unfortunately passed before this all came out, and it was quite shocking to see her like that. I wasn't sure how they were going to approach Log Lady, and I didn't know how far along she was with her illness when they were filming. So it was pretty jarring, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very jarring.
Let's go to the comic pitfalls of Audrey and Charlie. Again, I would have liked this if it was his own short movie. These scenes just don't gel.
No, they don't.
I think it's doubling down more and more as we're going along with Audrey yelling at Charlie. You got your coat on? Of course I did. We're going out.
Yeah.
I like these interactions. It just doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit the show. And again, I know that this was written because Sherilyn Flynn was upset about the time that she had on it. We talked about that earlier, but this is an Audrey, right? In my mind, this is something else. This is like Sherilyn Flynn versus the midget. It's really what this is to me. And I want to see that movie. Don't get me wrong.
No, this again. I generally find these amusing, and I that's why I keep saying if this was a short film of Audrey and Charlie, that would awesome. But it doesn't add to any of the story. It doesn't really move things along. It's just there. It falls like a lead balloon, Mm-hmm. It just kind of takes the wind out of the show whenever these two pop in.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And like how poor Charlie's feeling whenever I'm watching this, I feel so sleepy.
Yeah.
I did a lot of work today, Paul, and I'm so sleepy.
I'm so sleepy. For those of you that don't follow us on Facebook, we were trolling each other with both taking pictures of Charlie and Audrey.
Just zooming in closer and closer on their face.
Yes. Yeah, I was so, and then, again, this is going nowhere. Like, this could have been addressed, honestly, in one episode. All this thing could have been addressed. I mean, because again, it's not gelling right. They could have done like episode, excuse me, 14 could have just been the Charlie and Audrey interactions. Just an episode to itself, dedicated to it.
You know what? No. It's nothing. It has nothing part. I'd rather have just had it cut out and be its own separate thing.
Sure. Right. No, I agree. But even the way they did it here, which is, these intersplicings, I don't care. Again, it would have been more interesting if they just taken a previous episode and just done it all at once if they were going to, just be done with it. Versus like this whole stupid, obviously this meandering of, we're going to go out, we're not going to go out, but nobody cares anymore. I think anyone that was invested in Audrey at this point in season 3 is out anyways. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I was out watching it the first time. I was just like, I'm chuckling because, she's just yelling at him and he's just fucking, you're like, this poor son of a bitch. But I didn't care. I was checked out. Like, I just kind of like, I'm checking my phone until we get to the Roadhouse after this. I mean, it's weird.
Yes. And it's, I was checked out as well. Obviously, we could tell about this when we're discussing it. And again, if there are people listening, if we are wrong, like you were invested in all this, great, but I was not. Joe was not. And then finally, we get to the Vales playing Axatoli, which, but I have the music is definitely like reminds me of Fire Walk with Me. The
Pink Room Band.
The Pink Room Band. Yes. Yep.
I agree. I don't mind the song. It's not something I throw on all the time, but it's interesting and different. I like industrial, weird noise stuff sometimes. So, but then we see like this girl in a booth, and these two guys like basically pick her up and set her on the floor. She starts crawling and crying, and she eventually screams. And this kind of goes back to like when I was talking about like the kid in the car and the woman blaring the horn.
Yeah,
there's a sickness in Twin Peaks, and it's starting to spread.
And this is played by Charlene Yee, by the way, who was best known for in my world as in the later seasons of House, being one of the interns that House kept around.
Yep. She's great.
She is great. Mm-hmm. I like her a lot. Now, so this Axatoli, the song Axatoli by the Vales. Jesus Christ. I'm listening. I have, when I watch these things, I have the subtitles on because I want to capture everything. So I actually watched it twice today. I watched it first time just kind of focusing on the show and then focusing on the dialogue. And because, again, I didn't remember this having so much in it. So I was like, fuck. Man, these are some trite lyrics, man. Like, it's trying to sound so important. And it's just like, who wrote this? I'm glowing bright obsidian, Axatoli amphibian, an elemental chemical, got me growing 6 black tentacles. I'm a little nightmarish, a little modern. Good golly, go get that kid some laudanum. What the fuck?
Sounds like every Bob Dylan lyric to me.
I'm like, what the fuck? You're trying to be. I'm sorry. Maybe there's people who are. We do have a lot of listeners these days, so maybe there are people who from the show listening to this. If we're really that harsh, but my God, I was just looking at those lyrics and I was like, oh, you're trying too hard.
Yeah. No, the lyrics are bad. I've never really even listened to the lyrics. Again, I like the loud noise, sound, industrial thing.
I do too.
Yeah, I'm sure the lyrics are just fucking terrible, but I mean, they all can't be winners, Paul.
No, they can't all be winners. So
they all can't be just You and I by James, Paul. There's sometimes got to be a clunker in there.
Well, I want to see a duet with him where both him and Snake are singing together the male part. I want to see that version. No. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, so she screams, and again, the sickness of Twin Peaks is spreading, and then we get the weird hotel as the credits roll.
Yes,
which was an interesting choice. I like it.
I do too.
And it's this episode's dedicated in the memory of Margert Lanterman. Catherine Coulson gets her own in memory of, I think, in one of the next episodes, or she might have had one already. I don't recall.
I think she did already. This one, yeah, I think this one was dedicated to Margert Lanterman. I think Catherine Coulson was like one of the first 3 episodes of the dedications.
But I like she gets 2 of them. Log Lady deserves it.
The Log Lady does deserve it. I overall, again, not what I remembered, right? Like I was totally off on this. And it is.
This was a real slow one, Paul. Nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening. So that's on me. I was wrong. I remembered it wrong. So again, my apologies. Shit's really gonna get crazy the next episode.
These last 3. It's out the gate with this episode, I think.
Yeah. Yep. This is like the ramp. This is like the ramp up on the roller coaster. Like, okay, here we go. We're pulling we got a bunch of shit set up, and we're gonna start pulling a lot of strings real fast. Because this next part, these next 3 are gonna feel like a 3-hour movie. Like I know it's an 18-hour long movie, but this next thing is just gonna feel like boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And and we're gonna get to my favorite, what I've been waiting for. My favorite out of all of them, Roadhouse performance next episode.
Yeah.
And
we also get one of my absolute favorite moments of road rage in any TV show or movie.
Yes, I'm looking forward to talking to that as well. So good. Oh man, yes, shit's gonna happen. No knock, nor doorbell next episode. Joe, what do you have going on with the Joe Down?
We're on a hiatus right now. Some things have happened, so we just haven't had time to do Veronica. That's gonna just be thrown on the back burner for another time. Then we're gonna do December with the 3 John Wick movies.
Nice.
Those movies are they're so. I don't think Brown's seen them. I've seen them.
I've seen
fun.
one.
They're fucking fun.
3 yet. I have not seen 3 yet.
Yeah, they're fun. Though. They are fun action movies. So I'm excited for that.
Yes, I am excited to see your take on that because yes, they are fun. I love those to me. I mean, Matrix did a lot, but like that solidified Keanu Reeves as like the most unconventional super action star ever.
What, Constantine didn't do that for you?
I didn't hate Constantine, honestly. I mean, the writing wasn't great, but I loved that. I loved the Constantine, the Sandman, all that stuff. Like I heard they made a show. I didn't watch it.
I think the show's more true to the comic character than the movie was.
This was like, God, I was just watching Deadpool earlier today too. Again, this is I think Constantine, the movie is very much to what the Wolverine Origins movie was with Deadpool, like the Constantine. Not very close to the source material. Yeah.
But there are rumblings they're doing a sequel with Keanu Reeves. There's rumblings of that.
I think they would do it right now. I think now would be the time to do it. Because I do think they could do it right with the right writing team.
I don't know if you think DC should be taking risks with all their like big budget, all the success they've had with Zack Snyder's DCEU. Like the fan favorites of Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. Well, I don't know if they want to roll the dice on.
Well, now, they're talking about how they're going to give things back to Zack Snyder.
I will never watch a DC movie again. I'm done. Like
I think I am too.
I walked away. Joker was fine. It was a
Yes.
nice tribute to Scorsese.
Yep.
That's
exactly
it. That's all I need.
There's a lot of talk about, Wonder Woman 1984, which could be good, but
yeah, Patty Jenkins is at least she knows how to tell stories. Zack Snyder just knows how to make things blow up.
Yeah, I will say, the one thing that I'm not looking forward to in the Wonder Woman 84 movie is I know they're going to try and tie some bullshit into another movie. Like they're just frantic on making this DCU movie universe work, and it just isn't going to.
Yeah, well, frankly, I'm mostly just fucking done with comic book movies anyway. Like I'll enjoy like. You said you watched I watched Deadpool 2 last night when I got off work.
Because it's on Hulu.
They both popped up on Hulu. So I was like, yeah, sure. I got Disney Plus back because I wanted to watch Mandalorian, and I click on the Marvel thing, and it's so fucking overwhelming. There's like 25 movies, and it's like only a few of them stand alone as their own thing. I'm like, I'm not going to watch any of this.
I will say, I have not gotten Disney Plus back. The Mandalorian did not grab me like it's grabbed other people. It reeks of that low budgetness that I don't find works in the Star Wars universe. I saw some screenshots even of like one of the scenes of Baby Yoda. It's obviously a doll. And I'm like, this. Yeah,
this midget in a wig.
This doesn't do it for me, this just no. I mean, Baby Yoda's cute and all, but no, I can't. It's not doing anything for me.
That's fine, man.
Yeah,
I got it just for that, just because whatever. Plus, watching classic Simpsons is always nice.
Yeah,
because they have all the seasons of the Simpsons and like that string from like the early to late 90s was like it's just dynamite. That show was just on fire.
Yeah, it was like around season 4, season 5 on for a while.
Yep, until around 2000.
Yep. I got out of The Simpsons around the episode. I remember, I think it was the season premiere when Homer tripped on the hot pepper.
Yeah, that's when it kind of. And Johnny Cash played the coyote.
Yes. That's when that season I got out. That season was like, okay, this isn't doing anything for me anymore. Same thing I think with you being on hiatus with the Joe Down right now, the blog side. I'm not sure what's going on with Cast That Movie. I haven't really been able to get in touch with Scott on that, so I'm not sure what's happening right now. So that's an unfortunate turn of developments. I really want to get going on that episode. I've been ready for weeks for that episode.
Yeah, it's Waterworld, right?
It's Waterworld and steroids and baseball. Yeah, and that's something that I really wanted to do. Like when we originally started talking about doing, Cast That Movie, this was one of the movies that was like my original, like on my top list of films I wanted to do.
At the time was the most expensive movie ever made. And
it was and
the opening scene is we watch Kevin Costner drink his own piss.
Well, okay. So since we're talking about that, guys, I'm going to give you some of my grievances. Sneak peek here. Yes, he doesn't have a name. He's just known as the Mariner. Jesus,
$270 million. People can't even afford a name.
There's so much that went on behind the scenes. Do you know that Kevin Costner tried and there's apparently is cut footage of this, wanted to have a horse with him the entire movie? Like a horse in Waterworld. He wanted to have a horse like on his boats and shit like that, and like they couldn't make it work because the horse wouldn't fucking act, like was freaking out in the water. They tried this. Yes, the movie tanked so bad that it said eventually, they're trying to make a resurgence with Waterworld for whatever reason. Like it's not as bad as you remember. It's as bad as you remember. Okay, it is. And even now in the new Wikipedia, people like soften up to it, and they're like, eventually earned its money back with when along with through home video and streaming services. No, you mean it made its money back from streaming. That's how many years it took for this movie to get out of the red.
Well, it just took 25 years.
That's what I'm saying. This movie came out when VHS was a thing. There are people, there is a generation entirely born that have never heard of a VHS, let alone seen one. VHSs were a long ways away from fucking streaming, people. Long ways away.
I remember seeing it in the theater, and honestly, like, I forget what year it came out, but I think I was like getting into my teens.
It was like 96, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm like at 15, 16.
15, 16, yeah.
Just like, and I'm like, yeah, I can't see where any of that money went.
No.
It's a cheap looking production.
Well, okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit because I haven't been able to discuss it. This has been on my mind for a long time. A bunch of sets got ruined during it. And so, it was kind of like we talked about in our Sphere episode where, they try to build all this stuff and do all these things. There was a bunch of fucking storms that destroyed sets, things of that nature. They had to move things along. People almost fucking died making this movie. Kevin Costner himself almost drowned in a scene. Dennis Hopper, once again, doesn't really remember doing the fucking movie, which isn't a shocker. It's just there was so much that, and like it got to the point where because it was directed by I forget his name off the top of my head now, but they did Dances with Wolves together, and Waterworld is where they ended their friendship, and the director even came out and said, Kevin Costner needs to work with his favorite director, which is himself from now on. like holy shit, like they were pissed. Kevin Costner was doing rewrites daily to the script, still didn't bother to give himself a fucking name. The whole premise of what the script was starting to how it finished, it's a completely different fucking movie. This was, and Kevin Costner himself was pouring in his own money to make this work towards the end.
Well, who didn't have to worry about rebuilding sets from tropical storms? George Lucas.
He didn't use sets.
Yeah, it was all green screen. Joke's on you, Costner.
You should have just waited 4 years. Yeah, you schmuck. You should have waited 4 years. You could have spent that $200 million on a sweet fucking green screen studio.
Yeah, you could just sat there drinking coffee like George.
God. So that's my bitch. Again, there's just so much. I mean, there's more to it than that, but I don't want to bore our audience who are probably already tuned out. Other than that, we still do The Office. Which one's coming up? Is it Valentine's? No. We did Valentine's Day already. Which one's coming up?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Is it Valentine's Day? I think it might be Valentine's Day.
It's episode 16, right? I think because Boys and Girls.
Yes, Boys and Girls, and then it's Valentine's Day. Yes, yeah. So Valentine's Day is coming out next, so we'll be doing that. And then we'll be doing a couple. The new episodes will be coming out after that. So yeah, other than that, that's what I have.
Yeah,
so that's what I got. So other than that, Joe, anything else?
Nope, I have nothing. I think we should just end it. Moment of silence for Catherine Coulson.